from here, booktubes, and today is books based on my Spotify Wrapped top 5. Jen from the Book Refuge did a tag similar to this last year, so I will link that. This is not necessarily that, this is just my version. I thought about doing this last year and then had all my content planned and didn't want to, so I've planned on doing this all year. My top 5 songs were all Taylor Swift songs. I was in the top 0.1% of Taylor Swift listeners on Spotify this year. And my top song was Long Story Short, which I listened to 148 times. Which is wild to me because I wouldn't even necessarily claim that as my favorite song off the album. It was on Evermore, but I listened to it the most. For this book, I want to recommend a new favorite, which is Yours Insatiably, which is Hunger Duet #2 by Aveda. This is the sequel to Feed, which I raved about since reading it in July. Loved it. The full length did not disappoint. It was so good. It was so good. So in the song Long Story Short, it's basically talking about how, hey, yes, I used to be with these people before I met you. Long story short, I love you. I'm with you. It doesn't matter. But in that song, she has a line about how laid down her sword, threw it in the bushes, and now they live in peace together. And in this one, we have a female succubus, but she's so prickly and she is not comfortable with being a succubus. She hides it. She's kind of ashamed of it. She struggles with it a lot. And she hates Pie, who is a death hawk moth fairy. I might have gotten that right this time. And he is non-binary. He uses he and they, them pronouns fluidly. The use of the pronouns in the writing is just beautiful and gorgeous, and I love it. And I love everything about it. Okay, listen, I love everything about it. But so they are co-workers and she hates him and he does not hate her. He finds everything about her to be incredibly hot. And she can actually get fired because she works for a consulting company type thing with his company. So even though they're co-workers, technically she works for somebody else, and so she can get fired if there's any relationships with her co-workers. So they decide to just be friends because their initial one-night stand was an accident. She ordered up somebody on Monster, which is something to kind of cater to the appetites of monsters. She's a succubus. She obviously feeds off of sexual desire and life force, and so she needs sex in order to survive. And he shows up at her door and it's so hot, it's so good, it's everything. But then after that, she's like, I'll get fired, we can't continue. They have such a steamy work scene. It was so good. And then if you read Skin by Aveda, Flint and Harper, they show up in this book. And I knew exactly what was going to happen. Anyways, okay, so he's trying to help her. He is trying to help her not only at work, but also to become more comfortable with being a succubus and to introduce her to some of the other monster elements of the city. And she is just prickly and keeping her walls up and doing her best to keep them from hurting her. And he is just so understanding and sweet. And then I loved at the end when she was talking about how, should she call him her boyfriend? He was like, I don't know, I think I'd be more comfortable with girlfriend. And then she's like, I kind of wanted to call you my man. And he was like, yes, that. And I just loved that whole exchange. I loved the whole thing. I loved his reaction. I loved all of it. That's besides the point. I don't know why I would tell you that, but when I loved it. I've been anticipating it so much, looking forward to it, was really hoping it would live up to my expectations, and it did. It's so good. It's not on KU. You have to buy it. It's worth every penny. Go do it. Read it for kinky delight. It's so good. So good. Kinky, smutty goodness. With also feelings. I did not cry. I was pretty proud of myself, but I was very emotionally moved by everything and in tune with it, and not apathetic at all, and just loved it. Loved it. My next top song was Right Where You Left Me, which this, I don't know what classic it was, but did you guys watch Wishbone when you were a kid? That little dog that retold all the classics? There was this one where there was this old woman in like her wedding dress. She'd been jilted at the altar, or he was killed or something like that, and so she like wouldn't let them touch the wedding feast and stuff, and then her veil ends up catching on fire. Traumatized me as a child. I cannot listen to this song without thinking about that Wishbone episode. If somebody knows what classic it is, please enlighten me. But basically this song is about how he broke her heart, and they're like, hey, move on, and she isn't. She's still right there in the same place where he left her, just time froze, and she's never grown, never moved on, and it's really just very cleverly written. It's one of the bonus tracks off of Evermore. The other bonus track is the next one, which I believe because I played those bonus tracks into the ground in the early part of 2022. I listened to them so much. But anyways, for this one I picked The Tyrant Alpha's Rejected Mate by Cate Wells. This is a shifter romance. He rejects her. He's not trying to be cruel, but he rejects her. He doesn't think that she's his mate. She's disabled. She's a latent wolf. She's very weak. He's trying to protect her. He rejects her in front of the entire clan. And she like challenges the female wolf that was rubbing up on him and loses badly. Things are not going well at all. And then the witch takes away her side of the mating bond because she's in so much pain. And then he can't figure out why she's fine. And his wolf won't let him leave her alone, but he's sure she's not his mate. And he doesn't know what to do. And he's the alpha, and he rules everything with an iron fist. And she has been secretly doing all sorts of things behind his back. And it's so good. And also he would never harm her, and you know, is fighting for the rights of the pack, but it's a long ways to go, and it's just so good. It's so good. It's so good. Yeah, if you like shifter romances, read it. The other Evermore bonus track is It's Time to Go, and this is basically just knowing when it's time to leave something, that it's not quitting, it's not giving up. It's just sometimes things aren't worth you to continue to put in the effort for it. And it's time to go. For this, I picked Run, Posy, Run by Cate Wells. I know I picked two by the same author. Sue me. I don't care. She's a new favorite author of mine for 2021. Easily. Run, Posy, Run. Posy does try to see that it's time to go. She does try to leave. She is basically cast out by her mafia boyfriend, who is a legit psychopath, and you get his POV, and it's so interesting. But he has no emotions, and then he sees a video where she is cheating on him, and so he throws her out, and then is like, why did I do that? I'm so annoyed that she's not where I want her. I should have just kept her and tortured her here. So then he goes and tries to find her, but she's disappeared. And then there's a bit of a cat and mouse game happening. Then he does capture her, and he wants everything to go back to normal. And she's like, no. The illusion has been broken, actually. So he loves that she now knows that he's a psychopath and doesn't have feelings for her, but he still wants her to act the same way that she used to, which was carefree and happy and just soaking up any affection that she can come across. So it's very interesting because he has no emotions, and she often is in bad relationships because she desperately needs love and affection and to feel like she matters. And they just make such an interesting couple. It's a fantastic mafia romance. It's a standalone. It's so good. Yeah, she knew it was time to go and she left, but unfortunately for her, he dragged her back. Then I have Our Song, which was the first Taylor Swift song I ever fell in love with so many years ago, and this has just been on my kind of go-to playlist all year long, and that's why it's so high up. Our Song, if you don't know, is just kind of about how the little everyday parts of life are the thing that makes their romance so good, are the soundtrack of their romance. And for this, I picked The Demon Next Door by Chace Verity. This is a single mom who has a single dad demon move in next door to her. and he just helps with everyday life. Her husband left them and has cut off contact with their son, and her son has really been struggling with school. He's having therapy, but he's just struggling in every aspect. And then this little demon kid next door becomes his friend, and her son is doing so well. And then he gets in trouble at school, and the demon dad like stands up for her son and is there with her and is helping her and helps her with like all these different parts of everyday life. And she also is helping him. And it's just so freaking sweet. I love it so much. And also, you've got some pretty good steamy times, but the single parent romance is just adorable in here. So freaking cute. Next, I have Don't Blame Me, which is my favorite song from Reputation, and I've been listening to it for so many years now. Just, it never goes away. This is basically a song that says, don't blame me, I'm in love, and if you don't lose your mind a little bit when you're in love, then are you really in love? And for this, I have Rushed by Aurora Reynolds, where he and she meet on a couples therapy trip. He's the guide, she's the jilted at the altar person who couldn't get a refund on the trip but is no longer part of a couple, and they work as a team. And he just falls in love with her in that week and is ready to leave his entire life for her. So if that's not a bit much, a bit over the top, I don't know what is. But he's very alpha, very loving. You've got insta-love, very low angst, very low conflict. There is a accidental pregnancy. There is a poaching of elk suspense thread through here. And also his friend causes a lot of drama. So he is ready to leave his whole life. And then all of her loved ones are just like, have you lost your mind? This is not you. You do not do spur of the moment things. You do not, I know your fiance left you, but you shouldn't just rebound with some random guy. That's not you. And she's like, I'm an adult. And just because that's not how I normally act, like I've been with this guy since I was 15. Why would you think that I would stay the same? It's so good. It's so good. Everybody around them thinks they've lost their minds, and maybe they did, but they did it together, so, you know. Okay, so those were my top 5 songs, and then besides Taylor Swift, my next 2 top artists were Halsey and Olivia Rodrigo, which is no surprise to me because If I Can't Have Love, I Want Power and Sour are the only 2 albums that I have played on repeat, all of the tracks, the only ones besides Taylor Swift albums. And I just loved both of these albums, to be honest. For Halsey, I have The Lighthouse. In The Lighthouse, you're listening to this song about this girl who basically was overwhelmed and ended up finding her strength, and there's so many good lines. Never trust a sailor because they only tell you lies. Alright, my phone died, so the ending of the video got cut off. But I was talking about, I did the whole video, but the end didn't record. And I'm glad I met the devil because a little part of him is in a little piece of me. And he was drowning in the water. So I showed him all my teeth and then I laughed out loud because I never wanted saving. I just wanted to be found. It's just really good. So for this I have Sing Me to Sleep by Art Virtues. It is a consensual non-consent sleep paralysis demon, a woman who has been having horrific sleep issues because of a home invasion where her father was killed in the room next to her. And you have this demon who finds her and doesn't want her fear, he just wants her pleasure, and he can't touch her without her consent. So even though she's saying no, he actually physically wouldn't be able to do anything if she wasn't consenting. And the angels are trying to kind of take free will away, I think, and the demons are trying to save humanity. He's not safe and she's not safe, and how will they live happily ever after? What are they gonna do? And it's just really, really good and hot. Can't wait for the rest of the series. And then lastly, I have Olivia Rodrigo, her album Sour, but my favorite song is Jealousy, Jealousy, which is all about comparing yourself on social media, feeling like less than when you really don't know those people, you don't know their lives. You shouldn't feel inferior to them when the perfection that they're showing isn't their reality. And for this, I have Badly Behaved by Meagan. Brandy. It is a dark new adult, which I thought fit nicely with the punk younger version that Olivia Rodrigo presents. And in this we have a very rich socialite who is doing exactly what her mother told her to do. There's a lot of content warning for suicide and drunk driving and all sorts of things, but she does whatever her mother tells her. She is an arranged marriage. She is just content to do what she's told with her life and not have any emotional attachments, and then ends up falling for a bad boy at the school who just doesn't follow the rules and turns her life upside down. And there's so much trauma and drama in this book. It's over the top and wild. Just one ridiculous thing after another. And yeah, if you want a bad boy romance, that's what it is. Intensely readable, but so ridiculous also, which I just find entertaining. Let me know the song that you listened to the most this year, your top song. How many times did you listen to it? I feel like 148 is pretty high from the other people that I've seen, but let me know yours. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.